Hello and welcome back to the Full 40. I believe this is season 8, and you are here with Willie and Trevor. We had a person, I just want to start at the top of the podcast addressing this. There was a person named Chris who used to be on this podcast. He was decapitated by a truck. That's it. So it's
Blood
a new
everywhere.
podcast. Yeah, just he's gone. If you're looking in the comments, there is a name there. That's not him. That's somebody else impersonating him. It's been a whole big thing. We're in a whole thing with Twitter. But Chris is no longer here.
What I want to say about the dude you were just talking about, like, Chris left. Chris is gone. It's like The Sopranos. Get a new show. Maybe they'll please stay and watch our show. But for Chris, get a new show, Sopranos.
Thank you, Brian.
It is it's weird only seeing the two boxes on the screen. I'm not gonna lie.
That's the weirdest thing for me right now. Is the two. I was like, wait, this is bigger. I don't like it. We'll get somebody else.
I'm fine having a conversation with you, Willie. I'm not uncomfortable about that part. It is just the small screen. It's throwing me off, or I guess the big screen now.
Yeah, it's a much bigger screen. But we're here and we're ready to talk about everyone's favorite basketball team, the Villanova Wildcats. It's been an interesting offseason for the Cats. In a way where there wasn't really that much that's happened since like the transfer portal closed. Like I'm trying to think of anything that's of note that's happened, and it's kind of just been a kind of relatively quiet offseason, unless there's something big I'm missing.
There hasn't really been any new news since the last time an episode aired. That was the Neptune interview, but by then I believe the roster is the same as it was. Oh, we got Chris Parker.
Chris Parker.
That's the only
Chris
thing.
Parker. Yeah.
Trey Patterson 3.0. But other than that, the roster was pretty much set. We had 8 new players at the time of that recording. Chris makes 9. I think he spells his first name the same way Chris Jenkins does. So hopefully that rubs off on him a little bit.
The game winner will be in the finals of the NIT, but you know.
We'll see.
We can get.
I don't know. Other than that, we had a secret scrimmage that happened, which we'll get into later, I'm sure. Dixon got suspended.
Oh yeah, Dixon.
Music plays.
I bet he looks good in orange.
It took 3 minutes for us to make fun of Jeff Goodman in season 8. I think that's a new record. And we got the first batch of Ken Pom rankings and the AP top 25. We are mentioned in one of them. But like,
take a wild guess as to which one. Do the numbers love us, or do other people love us? But yeah, I mean, I think this is an interesting time because I feel like I've heard across the Twitter sphere, the Villanova sphere. I was at a wedding just literally on Saturday where I was having this conversation. Yeah, it was really great for me. I got to watch my friend get married. You know, that's always fun. But this is probably the team that I feel like Villanova fans at large know the least about. I've had multiple people say like, I don't even know who's on the team anymore. I didn't know how much change had happened. And I have people who are like big basketball fans. The buddy who just got married is a big basketball fan and was like, I didn't recognize how much had changed. He was just getting married, so he wasn't locked in like you and me are, because we have more important things than marriage to do. It's this podcast. But he never locked, like he wasn't just locked in on it in the way that I think we've been. So one thing I want to kind of cover is that, and this is going to be the theme of this podcast, is we want to get you all up to speed on who is on the team, what are their skills, what are some hopes, what are some potential pitfalls, downfalls of them, and just kind of give an overall look at the team, but then dive also a little bit into some themes and, as we always like to say, narratives that are going to happen throughout the season.
Yeah, right before we get into that, I think now is a good time to just plug Home Field Apparel, our sponsor for tonight's episode. Like I said, episode brought to you by Home Field Apparel. It is your one-stop shop for all vintage and throwback gear that you could ever want from Villanova or from any other notable school. They have licensing with all the best. New merch dropped this spring and fall. We got hats, we got pullovers, we got new jackets. Not all Villanova stuff yet, but the perfect gift for the non-Villanova fan in your life. Use code Nova Insider for 15% off your first purchase.
And I want to triple check just on the code actually, because we're still in the process of the new stuff. So
we're pretty sure it's Nova Insider.
Nova Insider, so stick with that. But we'll give you guys upset just as the beginning of the season for the Wildcats. It's the beginning of season for us. Yeah, I mean, also they need to drop some Nova merch. Is the one thing I'm looking.
We were told it's coming, so
we've been told it's coming, and I'm waiting to see it. I want to see the pullover. But
I tell people I'm coming a lot, so you never know.
This is going to be such a long season.
All right.
Brian, thank you.
Going from there, Willie, who do you think our starters are going to be?
So starters, I mean, I think the starting lineup is going to be pretty much locked in to Jameer Brickus as what I'm expecting to start. Wooga Poplar. I think we're going to see Jordan Longino. We're going to see Eric Dixon minus the one game that he suspended. And then Enoch Boache. I'm assuming he pronounces it Ghanaian, which would be Boache. If it's anything else, I apologize, but that's what I'm going to go for.
We'll let you know after game one.
Yeah, we'll let you know after game one. They'll probably also say it wrong if I'm going to call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
But so that's what I'm expecting for the starting lineup. I think there's a chance after watching some of the stuff that we saw in the preseason scrimmage, or in the blue and white scrimmage. I think there's a chance Tyler Perkins might be able to play, and we'll dive into that a little bit more. I think just broad strokes on this team before we get into some of the nitty gritty. The first thing is it's a brand new team, like a genuine brand new team. For anyone who hasn't thought about it, there are 3 people on this team, I'll give 4, who have played minutes in a Villanova uniform. It's Eric, Jordan, Nana, and then Colin O'Toole. No one else has ever seen the floor in a Villanova uniform. And then, Villanova basketball isn't the end-all, be-all. There are plenty of people who have experience. Wooga Poplar actually played in the Final Four, so he has experience.
Hey, so did Eric Dixon.
Jordan Longino did not. He was hurt.
Colin O'Toole might have. Did he?
Well, he may have actually at the end of that game.
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
So huge gap of just understanding Villanova basketball. I was listening to the blue and white scrimmage, and Jay brought up a good point. If not only do they not understand how to play Villanova basketball, but they don't understand the drills. They've never done a lot of these habits.
Who's Jay?
I don't know. Jay something. He was on the
first name basis. That's what I was just trying to clarify for listeners. But yeah, it's obviously a brand new starting 5. Dixon is the only returning starter. Did Longino start last year? I don't even know.
He did, and then he got hurt, and then he came off the bench.
Yeah, gotcha. So
it was kind of a flop, yeah.
And it's kind of weird how the age is distributed. We have 5 upperclassmen in the starting lineup, in what we expect to be the starting lineup, and then there's basically a couple of Nana Njoku's a redshirt junior, but he's been injury plagued, hasn't played too much. You have Tyler Perkins, who's a sophomore, and then the other 7 players on the team are freshmen or redshirt freshmen that haven't played in an NCAA game yet. So again,
we're returning 26% of our minutes, and of that 26%,
that's because Eric played 40 minutes a game.
Of that 26%, 25.9 is Eric Dixon. So there's a lot of change. There's going to be a lot of new faces and a lot of just new talent to see. There's a lot of players that, frankly, outside the blue and white scrimmage and watching highlights on YouTube or being able to see them in person, we haven't had the ability to see. And there's a positive to that, because I think there's a lot of potential in this team. But then there's obviously a huge downside of we have quite literally no clue what this is going to look like. We could play super fast. We could play super slow. We could be a good 3-point shooting team. We could be a bad 3-point shooting team. If the talent is there, there were some signs in the blue and white scrimmage. I'm sure that we
Please,
won.
I'm gonna stop you right there. Please do not say there were signs of something from a controlled inter-squad we can't can't do that.
There's
Do
so
you not
little.
remember Angelo Grizzy like crossing up that dude, hitting that three?
That's exactly what
It's
I'm
the best
talking
blue and
about.
white moment ever. Yeah, Trevor,
But-
don't be so negative.
Obviously, it's less about
You
like
clip that? I need Brian telling me not to be negative.
obviously it's less about like what is actually happening like from a like baskets made, but it's like what does it look like on the floor? What are the
Right.
lineup combinations? Because frankly, like for the past, let's call it like for the last 40 years of Villanova basketball, we've had a pretty good idea of what the lineup combinations are going to be. This is the first year that there's no lineup combination that like besides the starting lineup, which we assume is going to be what that is, because both Wuga and Brickus got NIL bags, however much it is to be here. And
Allegedly.
yeah, and allegedly, Wuga is like or was like a fringe NBA draft prospect, just like people have spoke about him being drafted. Brickus is, big five, big five guy, Philly guy. Like, so there was a lot of there's a lot of a lot riding on them. I'll say is the way I'll describe it.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, if we want to start with what is known, even then with Dixon, like he's presumably playing a different position this year for the most part. He's going to be at the 4,
yeah,
which even then, totally different look. We hope. Obviously, 3-point threat, can score at all 3 levels. Scored. He hit, he had 18 free throws allegedly in the secret scrimmage. So he has that going for him. And then it'll just be interesting to see how he plays against a traditional big like Enoch, who I don't think stretches the floor much,
no.
if at all.
No, Enoch is much more of a traditional big, but has great size. He's 6'11", I believe, probably touching 7 feet. As a
Yep.
true big, it's going to be, which is a thing that for years people have wanted. For our first like true big, who's taller than 6'10" since Chefu.
He's
Like
the
Reynolds
he's
was
the
Reynolds was a
largest guy
true
on the
big.
team since Daniel and
Yeah,
Shefu.
like obviously Omari was fantastic, but stretched the floor, all these different stuff. He's our first true big. I think there's some work to be done with Enoch with his hands. I'm sometimes worried with him on post entry catches that I've seen a couple bobbles, especially going back to some of the old tape. But regardless, there's just a lot of different things that we can get into about how this team will work. But at the top of it, I think it all starts, and we got to start with Kyle. Like it all starts with like what are we hoping for from Kyle for this season? That's just, and I won't even say the team at large. Like we can leave the records aside. We'll do a schedule podcast in a couple of weeks, and we'll dive into the schedule and come up with like a record prediction. But like, what are we hoping to see from Kyle?
Something I don't know. There were moments last year, obviously, that that were brighter than others. Like I think Battle for Atlantis was the best string of games that he's coached. And trying to get back to that team that we were there. Like there were games that we played with pace. There were games that we slowed down and controlled when we had to. It'll be interesting to see playing with point guards that he hasn't had and known for 5 years in Justin Moore. And then for 2 years with Mark Armstrong, how the pace and the playing style and the tempo just kind of changes depending on opponent maybe, but I would like to see these guys run. I mean, most of them are Wuga's an athlete, all these guys, Jordan Longino, I'd like to see out on the break. Like just, I don't know. I want to see something different than we've been seeing, like pound into the court, dribbling the air out of the ball that we've been seeing the last couple of years.
I think that how you ended it is a big thing that I'm looking for. I want to see something different. If we wanted to play the same old Villanova basketball, and not even just the same old Villanova basketball, because that Villanova basketball adapts and changes how it looks like over the years. But if we wanted to see what we've seen for the last 2 seasons, let's just say, we know what that result's going to be. Like at the end of the day, like we've had more talented teams, at least like more veteran teams than this, and we've seen what this has resulted in. This is one of those situations where you hope that Kyle can adapt, and we'll talk a little bit about this later. But like with Jamie Young added to the coaching staff, like having like quite literally non-Nova eyes in the program, hoping that this can add in just some new and fresh things, different sets. Maybe we're calling plays slightly more, and it's like leaning to a little bit more of a structured offense. Maybe it's not a structured offense anymore, but we're just like you said, we're sprinting and we're running, and it's just like go. We have the athletes to do it. Eric has slimmed down, and outside of that, like literally everybody else can run up and down the floor. We have the ability to do that. Um, but I want to see something different. I want to see how Kyle like owns that. How do we become a better team, a better program based off of over time? I think I'm just going to start with this here. Like, I think this is a season of the team that we need to temper our expectations for the team. It doesn't mean that we can't be like a great team at the end of the season. There's a lot of talent here, but there is like more than any other season than we've had. Like, I know everyone, like Jay used to say it, and Kyle's definitely said it of like, they're still young. We're getting pieces to get put together. Like, this is the team that like we need to be patient with. But then on the other side of that, and this is where sometimes I struggle with, is we're not the only team going through this. This is the
Right.
landscape of college basketball.
Everybody
So
else
many,
seems to figure it out.
yeah,
So
everybody else has figured it out and has been like, okay, this is how we like let a new Arkansas literally runs out a brand new team every single year, and it's consistently whether or not they do is a tournament team. Illinois has done more or less that. And I think if I'm thinking about how we begin to cultivate and build a program, it's how do you, for lack of a better term, pick your 3 or 4 core players that like, all right, these people need to be here 2, 3, 4 years, and then pull people in and out and develop, because development's also changed. Kyle talked about this a little bit when he was on with us back in July. Like development and the way that we develop players has changed. So there's a lot of different things that like Kyle is going to be juggling. I want to see, one, can he juggle it successfully? But two, does it look the same or is it different? The one thing that I'll give Kyle a lot of credit for is the defense picked up last year. Our defense carried it, traveled. We're not the same team that we were. We're smaller. I wouldn't say we're smaller. We're definitely younger.
we're smaller.
But we're smaller at the guard position too.
Yeah.
Like, and we'll talk about this when
That's
we talk
more
about
so what I meant. Yeah.
yeah. We'll talk about this when we talk about Brickus, but like Brickus will be the smallest guard we've had at Villanova since Tony Chenault. Like I'm trying to think of somebody who was small, like Colin, but Colin's like 6'2", 6'3".
Colin would tower over him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brickus
He's
is
listed at 5'11".
Yeah.
So you do the
And-
like, you know.
Oh, he's 5'10".
Yeah.
Like,
and the thing about guys who are 5'10", they're usually 5'9".
and he's
So.
5'9". But and so there's going to be just a ton to kind of touch on Brickus for a second. For him to be able to stay on the floor defensively, he needs to be, one, like super tough, two, be able to like, create advantage situations. So I'm hoping that he's like has quick hands and can pick up, can be pesky on the ball. But then the last, like he needs to be super efficient offensively, because there's going to be a defensive trade-off. There's just going to be. And if he's not super efficient offensively, we're not going to hit that. Those are all things that I'm hoping Kyle can start to pull the lever on, that we can then start to see and grow from that. If he doesn't,
I mean,
yeah,
defense was always the thing that they focused on last year. Anytime anybody talked to them about their game or whatever. So I agree. Like the biggest point of concern behind like how are we going to be scoring enough, because that's been the issue for the last 2 years. But you really worry about that with, like we said, an undersized guard at the point of attack, and how we're going to manage that. After Brickus, everybody else is pretty much 6'4" or taller. That freshman class that came in, they're all like 6'7" or to 6'9", with the exception of Sash. But I like everything else is kind of interchangeable parts almost, it seems like, from the forward position. Longino and Sash and Perkins are 6'4", 6'2", and 6'5", or something like that. And then everybody else is 6'7" or above. So that's kind of interesting to see what they'll do with the platoon like that. again, like we have no idea, but that's kind of what we'll be looking for early, especially game one that Eric has to sit because he uh, was trying to follow his dreams, and the NCAA hates when kids try to follow their dreams. Um,
Which that's just to touch on that. That is, I don't understand why the Portsmouth Invitational isn't just accepted as like, okay, you can go do this and test. We've gotten to the stage where you can have agents, you can take NIL money, you can do all this different stuff. You can go to the you can go to the Portsmouth Invitational and still be able to like you should be able to still be able to play. It doesn't make any sense that this is one of those things at the end that the NCAA has continued to put their foot down on there when there's so much other stuff going on.
yeah,
Quite literally European players who played professionally in Europe coming over and still being eligible to play. And it's taken time, but like it's just like it's one of those things that I just think
are you trying to get another player on our team suspended, or did he not play professional?
he didn't play. I don't know what you
Who
call the
knows?
global. You don't know. I don't know what you call, but no,
Yeah.
I was talking about some people at Kentucky.
No,
But yeah, one thing you called out just as a thing I'm excited about for this team is that in theory, and this is on Kyle and the assistant coaching staff to figure out, there's a lot of different like wings that do different things.
Yeah.
Mosley should have a very good. I'm going to start saying inside out game. It might end up being more outside in, but he's really skilled, great body. Like Mosley, I have high hopes for his just professional future goals career. I think there's a lot of talent there for him.
I marked him on my list as extra special because my cousin taught him in the 4th grade, and she said
Oh.
he was really nice. So I have him on my watch list of players to have a great attitude. This is Villanova basketball.
And if that's not what it's all about, I don't know what the hell it's about because honestly, I think we're good.
Yeah.
Right?
Mr. Texas basketball also was really nice in the 4th grade. You can tell everybody you know.
But Mosley, I'm expecting to have a good inside out game. Apparently going to lead us in attitude points. And then Hodge, obviously, Villanova connections, Villanova bloodlines, can shoot the ball, should be more outside in. And hopefully, if he's able to translate that shot quickly, then I think there's a lot of things that we can utilize him for in terms of spacing the floor. There, and we saw this a little bit in the blue and white scrimmage, which once again, yeah, whatever, it's not real. But like there are, in theory, lineups there where you could go like a lot of people over 6'8". Now there'd be a lot of youth, but like it's there. There's
You can have
optionality.
Poplar as your lead ball handler.
Yeah.
And he's 6'5" with I think a larger wingspan, and then everybody else, yeah, that's theoretically a tough team to score on.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a lot of optionality here. Is what we have at the end.
and the good thing again, like minutes are up for grabs. So the freshmen and the new players that are able to rise to the top in practice will theoretically be getting that burn also in the games. And that's where we see the most growth, I think, game to game. Guys that are actually able to get minutes and play, like you saw with players early in their careers like Sadiq Bey and Justin Moore, who were able to actually crack the lineup, got so much better, so much faster than other guys in their class. Part of that is because they're really good basketball players, and the other part is just getting that game experience early on in your career. Playing with veteran players helps you grow, I think, a lot faster than if you're just doing the practice reps.
Yep. And then we've kind of alluded to this. I just want to, before we dive in on all the players and start talking a little bit more about them, but just the hiring of Jamie Young.
Yep.
I know I was at Lemoyne and all this stuff, but he comes with a lot of NBA experience, and there are levels to it. There's just levels to preparation, being like understanding scout. Whatever we decide to give Jamie Young, he has an NBA level of experience doing it. I believe he was with the Celtics for like 20 years or something like that. Like, so it was a long period of time. I don't know how long it was. But there's a lot of experience there, which is going to be one helpful, not just only to the players, but also to the other people in the assistant coaching staff. Like,
yeah,
I think without knowing, I would imagine there's a lot of when you have 4 J disciples in the same place, like there's going to be, even though there's different everyone's their own person. There's different thoughts and different things. They've all been shaped by Jay. And so a lot of the ways that they're going to handle things or that they're going to think about things is going to be similar ish to Jay with like some standards with some deviations here and there. Jamie being not related to anybody in this situation, having a lot of NBA experience, I'm hoping gives him a voice in the room to be like, okay, I hear you, but what if we and then we did X, Y, or Z? And even if we don't do it, just being able to put that into constant conversation in the assistant coaches room, in the training staff, or in practice, in wherever it may be, I think will should be super helpful for us long term.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what, again, like you said, I'm most excited for that too. Just having a different voice in there and somebody that looks at the game a different way than how they were taught, either by their head coach when they were in college, and then the guy that they were working for when they finished their playing careers. Um, it's just nice, and of course, like the coaches that he's worked with and been able to pick up, you know, stuff from over the years. The Celtics staff was, in the last 10 years has been like Brad Stevens, Missoula, the other guy whose name I can't remember, who's
Ime
coaching Cam
Udoka.
Whitmore right now.
Ime Udoka.
Yeah, Udoka. It's just it's good to have that different perspective and that maybe even different way of communication and just life experience that Villanova hasn't had. Um, since ever. Like,
maybe Coach Chill. Like, I don't know, but like, yeah,
don't even know who that is.
Raphael. Yeah, like it's been a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hopeful this is good, and it's a good move by Villanova to pull him in. With the ability to add additional assistant coach, a lot of different programs have been handling it a lot of different ways. Some programs have added more statistics people. I like us going and adding a development MBA person, MBA guy who, by all accounts, is going to fit the Villanova culture, which obviously is super important. But like being able to challenge that and make that be able to grow, I think is also a part of having a good culture. And I'm hopeful that that's what we're going to be able to see out of him.
Yep. If there's nothing else, do you want to get into player?
I have one last note.
Go for it.
The last thing in terms of like just overarching themes is I think we've all seen the schedule. We're going to do a separate episode on the schedule, but lighter schedule in theory. Granted, we lost everybody in the Big Five. So
we finished sixth in the Big Five.
Yeah, we finished sixth in the Big Five. So, but lighter schedule in theory. We have what's Lafayette, Columbia, NJIT, St. Joe's, UVA, random. Only one team will start the season ranked, and that's Cincinnati. I think they came in at 20th today when they released the poll. So that's the only team that we're playing that's ranked. We don't have a true MTE like we played in the Empire Classic, but it's just like one-off games. It's not like a tournament.
Yeah.
We have the Big Five Classic, and then we get into the Big East and the rest of the season from there. Oh, in theory, a lighter beginning, which like might hurt us down the road, but frankly, if we're able to stack the wins and be good enough to be in that position down the road, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And I think this is a chance for development and learning. Hopefully, if we start to lose early, y'all know what time it is. Like if we start to lose early, if there's an Elder Lafayette like without Dixon, we already know what time it is. But hopefully, we're able to stack some wins, start to develop, and then we can start to roll from there.
Yeah. So after that, do you want to start with who we think the starting lineup's going to be? I know we said the names already, but let's just get into let's talk about Brickus, I guess, and then take it from there.
Yeah, and what I'm hoping that we can do with this is kind of talk about just who they are, player, whatever, and then like what we think is like a positive outcome for the season, and then what we think is like a negative outcome, what we don't want to see.
Yeah.
But
so, like we said, Brickus came over from LaSalle, knows Big Five basketball, 5'11" guard. I think he was third team A10 last year. Averaged like 13 and 5 assists, I want to say. 40% 3-point shooter, which was obviously something that we were looking for, more consistency from three this season. we already kind of talked about what we're nervous about with him, which would be his point of attack defense and just how he fits into that defensive scheme. Because I know it's not Jay Wright's defense, but traditionally smaller guards have struggled in Villanova defenses. Thinking of like Javon Quinterly and Armstrong did the best he could when he got those switches, but still, like, smaller guys just having to switch 1 through 5 or 1 through 4 doesn't always work out. On the plus side, hoping that he can be a scorer efficiently, like you said, and be able to distribute and find shots for everybody else. The one stat that I kind of looked at more, or the first stat that I looked at from the blue and white numbers, was assists, and there were not many up and down the board. So that kind of reminded me of last year and the year before. So just hoping that he's a willing passer. What's up, Brian?
Oh, no, finish. I had a point, but I didn't want you to move on past the player. So keep
It's too late.
I just wanted to point out his name, Brickus, like the word brick for basketball player. And there was a kid on Twitter that said, if he doesn't make shots, I'm going to start making comments. And, no one else had ever thought of that, I'm sure, in his career. So,
oh, my God.
He's never heard it before, I'm sure.
No, that kid, like, you don't want that guy to make those jokes. I don't remember who it was. So if he's watching or listening, sorry, I'd credit you, but I forget. But I thought that was important to point out. Like,
I did not put that together. That
no one would.
Missing shots, brick is wow. It was right there in front of me too.
Dude, it's crazy. So I actually did not mean to disturb you though. I just I don't think
I was pretty much there with. I was going to let Willie go. So
I thought
Willie,
the stats were helpful.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, with Brickus, there's what I think from the positive side is, or what I'm hoping to see positively is, he keeps the ball on a string. He's a very good like ball handler who operates in a half court offense at his own pace. He will be able to get into the paint very, very well. Historically, he's finished at a decent rate in the paint, so I shouldn't worry about it, but there is a up level, and I don't have synergy up to break down how he's done versus high major versus low majors and all that different stuff. But I would imagine that there's numbers are better versus A10 competition than when it goes to versus Big Ten or Big East competition. So that's one thing that I want to see is how he handles finishing. The 3-point shot has been pretty consistently there for his entire career, so I'm not too worried about that. I think it's interesting. He's a very good passer. I do have some worry about the true decision making behind it. Sometimes I have some worry about the true decision making behind it. He doesn't have absurd turnover numbers or anything. There's nothing that when you see from the stats that pops out, but when you watch, sometimes I'm like, that's not the decision I'd make. That's not. It's just sometimes it's off, just a little bit off. So that's what I'm a little bit worried about is that, and then also I think my biggest worry is that he's not going to be able to defend in any way, shape, or form. But like we can't switch with him, and all the team is going to do is put him in a ball screen and then be able to attack, which is going to mean that the rest of the team needs to be super connected to cover up for him. Having a true big in Ernest Boakye, and we could probably just use this to transition to Boakye, actually, or Enoch. I said Ernest. Boakye. I don't know who the fuck is Ernest.
Who's Ernest?
Having a true big can hopefully help erase some of that when we're in there. And Eric, not that Dixon's not a true big, but like we're talking about a rim protector and someone who's going to be able to completely deter shots at the rim, which is what we're hoping that Boakye does. But before we move on to Boakye, who is the next person I'd expect to be in the starting lineup, starting 5, is there anything else you want to add on with Brickus?
Just one question, because I assume you've watched more of his tape than I have, which is 0. But when you say you worry about his decision making, do you mean it's like, when I hear that, I think, okay, it's either super robotic and he's like thinking way too much, or this is like playing fast and loose and like rec ball kind of like pick
fast
up
and loose. Okay, yeah, it's.
I think I'd rather have fast and loose than like
completely
the robot thinking that we seem to have, where it's like, okay, I have to catch the ball, I have to pump fake twice, I have to jabs, this and that, which we've seen kind of plague some of our younger players in the past. So I rolling the dice on the 2, I'd rather somebody trying to be over creative and making some bad decisions than somebody that's just like, okay, triple threat.
Yeah.
survey the field, so
and
that's just my only comment on that.
that's not him, and we would be doing a disservice to him if we tried to make him into that.
Yeah, exactly.
That is not what we want to see. I'm gonna get in trouble because I'm gonna give a comparison ish like thing. I think what we can hope for from Brickus is like imagine a more mature Javon Quinley in our
Okay.
offense, like of what that would
Yeah.
look like. Like it's not 1-to-1, but it's that same level of quickness, burst, ball handling. And then if Javon was able to continuously make better decisions, nothing to do with his Alabama career or anything like that. Like they're different players. Let's be very clear. But I want to just give like a little taste of like, okay, this is kind of what you'll start to get towards on the floor.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's talk about Enoch then.
All right. So Enoch, I think I'm just happy that we have a big. Like
Yeah.
that's just where it starts. Obviously, so he started at Arizona State, transferred to Fresno State. So up in competition, down to competition, back up in competition. Has never been the focal point of an offense. If we see anything offensively from him, it is a bonus. Like I'm thinking like 4 and like if we get 5 points out of him, that's great. What I want what Enoch I think really does is I talked about optionality earlier. He opens that up for Everett for us. Being able to one allow Dixon to play the 4. That is like that in of itself is worth its weight in gold. Because that's what hopefully Dixon can do for the rest of his career and allows him to like really kind of take a launching pad there. But then also it just gives us more flexibility. He has blocked about a shot a game for his career, so it hasn't been like an absurd shot blocker. But the presence of a 6'11" person being able to funnel to them will be super strong. Great finisher at the rim when he catches the ball. I do think he's going to be a little turnover prone. Instead of like, when he's catching the ball in an entry pass, he's going to, instead of keeping it high, he has a tendency to bring it a little bit low, which will get stabbed at, get stolen. If he can smooth that out, he's a very good athlete as well. So it's not just he's 6'11" and an oaf. Like he'll be able to run up and down the floor pretty well. And then vertically, he's great. So there's just a lot of positive. There's just a lot of positive physical traits that he has. Once again, I don't have very much expectations for him offensively, besides being like a rim runner, play finisher, and being able to help let us have optionality on offense. I saw a little bit in the blue and white scrimmage. I'm sure it was in some scrimmages. And then when we play Robert Morris in this, I'm going to be really tuned into the two-man game between him and Eric. How are they able to work together? Eric being able to play from the perimeter. People are keyed in on him. Eric is, and we know how good Eric is. I don't need to say anything else about that. Being able to have a two-man game between Eric and him will unlock so much else for the rest of the offense. I'd imagine most of Enoch's points are going to come from either putting back a rebound, just offensive rebounding, and being able to put it back in, or plays that are set up for him and from Brickus or entry pass from Dixon. If we're able to get some of that and he's able to give us 5 and 7 with a block a game, it's super, super strong, super good. He should be able to stay on the floor. He's like as I mentioned, he's a good athlete. And I don't mind him in a pinch on a switch. So if it's in a pinch, like he will still probably get beat, but it shouldn't be completely terrible. So in a pinch, it's like, okay, he's out there. We're fine with it and we'll let it rock.
Cool,
Lance Ware had that happen to him at Kansas State, and that didn't end that well. But he's not Lance Ware.
Yeah, I don't have to, like you said, I haven't watched anything, so I agree. Like the offense is a little bit concerning. Seeing, I think he was 8-8 at Fresno, but the key is what he lets other players do, like you said. So just having him out there and letting Eric play the 4 is enough for me. Excited for the defensive potential and having 3 bigs on the team if Njoku's healthy.
Yeah.
So because we know Eric can play the 5 if he has to. Like that's not what we're not worried about Eric being able to be a small ball 5. So we know that there are other options there if he can't do it game in and game out, but hopefully it doesn't get to that.
Yeah.
Next up would be Wooga.
Yeah. Wooga, I mean, in my opinion, is on paper, and this is Brian might yell at me, but on paper, the best transfer we've signed, like since the transfer portal's opened up. You agree?
Interesting. So
Just gonna
he's
write that
certainly the
down.
best one
This definitely this season.
this iteration. Easy. I didn't know anything about Tyler Burton last year, but every person, not just people on our podcast, not just Villanova fans,
Yeah,
were so sold on him.
Willie told me he was a draft pick.
And like I'd love to burn. I'd
A lot
literally
of
love to
people
burn.
did. Yeah, I
Right?
know.
But like, I think universally last year, Tyler Burton was like, "Oh, that's the guy everyone wants."
yeah,
So do you think, like, again, just using perceptions, that level?
yes,
Like,
yes.
okay,
And the way I'll
again,
describe it,
removing how he played.
yeah, removing how he played. Like I'll give this. Like Tyler, when he signed, was kind of like he's a fringe NBA player. Wooga has been in NBA draft conversations for 2 years, which is a good and bad thing because if it was because like okay, he's that level, but if he
He's
was
still
going to
here.
be there, he'd be there right now. So there's obviously a lot to work on.
Yeah.
But I would say it's that level. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so what's interesting, because I didn't watch Miami at all last year, but I told you guys this summer I talked to a college basketball assistant who was like, that kid is a player. He was just like, that guy, like, you're going to love him at Villanova. Like, this person gushed over this guy as a player and didn't do it with other players. I don't think he was putting me on. I think, like, it was a sincere, like, so more than Burton. Bamba, would you say Bamba was the second best so far with transfer? Like, hype?
That we've had.
Not hype. Projection. Burton,
But like
Bamba?
Burton Bamba. Yeah, I'd probably say, yeah, Burton Bamba.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, and this is not including like Pascal and
this is
like since the portal.
prep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, portal play. Yeah.
Yeah, portal.
Well, Pascal wasn't that heralded. Like
no, he wasn't. But I just mean like
I
obviously
think we were
Pascal
excited.
became. Yeah, but
Yeah,
Pascal
yeah.
became who he was. Yeah. Okay. So
Anyway.
yeah, with Wooga, this is the person if people want to have some expectations for, you should have some expectations for. Like, let's just call it like he's come in, he has had NBA
Played
buzz.
serious basketball.
Yeah, he's played serious basketball. He's been
Big
in the Final
conference,
Four.
you know.
Those played for Miami. He's a do-it-all guard, swingman, whatever you want to call it. He understands the game at a high level. Is a really, really strong athlete. Has fantastic body control when he's like getting downhill and attacking the rim. Can finish pretty well. I don't remember what he finished shooting twos, but can finish at the rim pretty well. Shoots the three ball at a decent rate. Better catch and shoot 3-point shooter. I don't think, and he's worked on it in the offseason. I'm not going to go ahead and say like he can be our like a backup point guard for us, but if he initiates the offense, there's not going to be any issues. Like, or not going to be any issues, but it should be fine. Like he has the complete ability to initiate an offense, knows how to move the ball well. The thing that I thought was super interesting for the most part is some players like, and I think this is a sign of his maturity. And that's like one thing a word I want to use. He's a mature basketball player. We have a lot of youth on this team. He's mature. During the blue and white scrimmage, which I'm not, once again, nothing to do with how he did, but he also did not really ever press the issue, which is a very good thing for a person who's like maybe trying to make an impression. He's kind of feeling it out. And it might end up being he's not as aggressive as we think in the beginning, as he's just feeling things out. But there's a lot of talent oozing from this kid. This is the player that like I would be, once again, if we have expectations for anybody, it's him. He's great in transition, can shoot, can do everything at a B to B plus level, like that you would want from a guard. Is long, should be able to defend. So with Wooga, that's what I'm hopeful for. And on the positive end, on the negative side, it's just maybe it's not to the level we hope, and it's more like it's kind of like where Burton was. Like it wasn't bad, but it wasn't like what we had needed and what we hoped. And if we're going to be,
or you're worried that he ends up having to do too much and kind of get overextended there.
Yeah, if we're going to be in the conversation for anything at the end of the year, we're going to need Wooga to be pretty good.
Yeah, he's played in a lot of big games, a lot of big minutes at Miami. Obviously, ACC isn't what it used to be. I have to make fun of the ACC if I can. So, but it's not like he's coming from a low major. So again, like I will be interested to see what he's able to do as a creator for others. Like I said, the assists was the one stat category that I looked at after blue and white. Um, just knowing that we don't have a ton of experience there from a Villanova system perspective. So um, that's the only hesitation I have right now. But I agree with you. Like you're looking at the lineup, and it's like, okay, I need Dixon and Poplar to be playing
Yeah.
at the peak of their abilities, and then we have a shot to have a memorable season.
Yep.
Other than that, I don't have too much more on him that you didn't already say. So I guess we can talk Longino,
Yeah.
who honestly for me, like at this point, we kind of know what we're getting with him. I'm hoping he can stay healthy for a full season. He, I would say he's a streaky 3-point shooter. I don't remember where he finished last year, but
I don't think
there
he'll
were
stay.
some there were some games that it was like, okay, that's automatic. And then again, that same like one dribble into the arc, pull up from two seemed automatic. And then other times where it was like, please God, let anybody else take the shot. So hoping his decision making has improved there a little bit. And again, health is I think the biggest thing for him. He is a heralded defender within the Villanova program walls. So I'm hoping he can prove that and again just stay healthy.
Yeah. Health is a big one for me. I mean, I think every season he's had some issue, whether it's big or small, it's been something. And then the other thing for me is just like it kind of comes to efficiency, where he took some tough shots, but he just hasn't been a very efficient player for his career. And it's even worse than I thought. He's shooting below 40% from the field, and he's shooting 29% from three. Like,
All
and
right.
he's better. Like when you sit there, and be like, he's a better shooter and player than that. But it's
Yeah.
been 3 seasons, and like it's like, oh well, he's been hurt. He's played 80 games, like
Yeah.
which is a pretty that's a sizable amount. So it's like, is he just this? Which is kind of where that. So that's like my thing for Jordan. It's like what kind of role does he take? I fully believe he should be a starter. He's got size. Like I know we herald him as a
Got
defender.
experience.
He's got experience. Like he's a very good connective piece. Every team needs someone like him. I just think if we're going to be, I mean, and we'll talk about expectations in the next podcast. But like the tournament's what matters. If we're going to be a tournament team, which is up in the air, he's going to have to be a step above this as a role player. Like with what he's done, he can't. If he does what he did last year, we're going to need a lot more from the freshmen and other people to step up. If he can give us a step above, it's positive. But like at the root of it, can he be healthy for a whole season? And like healthy, like yeah, not missing games, but also like we know how many games he played banged up, where it was just like it's like that's what we need. We need that from him.
Yeah. I can't add too much more for him. Like this is kind of like a show me who you actually are kind of year. So
Yeah, and
stay healthy and
he doesn't have another year of eligibility. This is it, I believe, right?
he
I can't remember when
is
COVID did. He's played for 3
listed
years.
as a senior,
Yeah.
but I don't remember if he has a COVID year or not.
I don't
It's
think he
everything is a
does.
blur to me.
Yeah.
Um, did we talk Dixon? I know we talked about Dixon a lot. I expect him to be the leading scorer. I expect him to kind of be an anchor on defense. I don't have many bad things to say about him, just other than this is kind of obviously his last ride. So it's like you want this to end on a positive note for him, for somebody
Yeah.
that we know means so much, has meant so much to this program over the last couple years of Jay's career, and then the beginning of the Neptune era, and that next step. Like he obviously had his chance to either go pro, or he probably would have been one of the most sought after transfers in the portal if he wanted to go somewhere. So I think it says a lot about him that he stayed. I hope he's able to put this team, he should be the leading scorer. He should be our MVP. And we know he has the tools to do it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, with Eric, I don't need to spend much time on him. If he has the season he had last year, that's completely fine. Like
Yeah.
from him, I would like to see like a little better, not even better, just like if he could take on more passing responsibility, that'd be cool. And if he shot slightly better from three, but he also took I think it was like 6. He took 5 3-pointers a game. But in college, that is a lot. 5
Yeah.
3-pointers a game. He shot 35%. Like if he could up that a little bit, that'd be great. But like one, I'm just putting more on a guy who's had a huge like level of responsibility on him for the last 2 seasons. Um, he can do exactly what he did last year, and it works for us completely. It's the other pieces around that's going to be there. I am excited for him to play more of the 4 and see what that looks like. I'd imagine with him playing more of the 4, we're going to see more threes from him. But also, like, he's quicker, he's slimmer, he's going to get into the he's
Slim
going to be
Dick.
yeah, he's going to be able to get into the lane really well. And I think my question for him is just kind of like, what does it look like? Like offensively, he's going to put a lot of pressure on other 4s to somehow match up with him. Because if that's more of a guard who's a 4, it's an easy. I'm backing you up. You're done. Just clear out. And if it's a big, he's quicker than them. It's what does he do defensively on the other end? If he's able to take a step forward defensively and like be a true perimeter defender, not only does that help us, but that also helps him long term in his career. So those are what I'm looking to see. But like at the end of the day, he can do exactly what he did last year, and that's more than enough for us. Like I have a tough time asking for more from him when he's already doing and had so much.
Yeah, totally agree. Moving on, I just have basically a list
Yeah,
going by experience. Njoku, just be healthy for a season. He
yeah,
had his moments. I think I'm on record as being the biggest Njoku fan there is. Um, I just want him to be healthy and be able to contribute. Worst case scenario is he has another injury plagued year and can't put it together.
yeah.
I'm excited about his energy on the defensive end. I'm excited about, his thunder dunks, and apparently he's been extending his range a little bit in the offseason. Everybody extends their range in the offseason. So I'm not really putting much stock into that until I see anything. But just be healthy. I just want to see him be able to get a true season under his belt.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I got nothing to say on that. That's
yeah,
with
there's
him. It's pretty straightforward. Like,
with
you need to
with
be healthy.
with the rest of the play. I mean, I'm just looking at the time with the rest of the players. There isn't like obviously too much we can say about some of these guys, but so if we hit all the points, we can just
Yeah,
Um, next would be Perkins. He had a good year at Penn. He had some, I think he was all-time freshman scorer at, I think it was either at Penn or the Ivy League in general. I tried to read up on it. 14-5. Did he light us up? He probably did.
he did. He lives.
Um,
Yeah, we couldn't.
so excited for his potential. We had a comment earlier asking if he starts the opener. I'm sure that's on the table with Dixon not being able to start. Um, Going a little bit smaller for Lafayette, but just excited to see him continue to grow and just see what he can do as is he a combo guard
I
or
call
a
him a
true
combo
two?
guard. I call him a combo. Like, there's probably some that
Leaning two, but
yeah, leans
there's a
to.
chance there. Yeah.
And actually,
Um,
that kind of gets to the point I
yeah.
want to make with Perkins. It's actually like if I think there's a chance he's in our closing lineup
Mhm.
with Brickus on the bench. If Brickus can't defend enough at that level, Perkins is 6'4", getting to 6'5". He's like strong that like and can defend that. Like I would imagine that there's going to be situations where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
we need Perkins to close out this game. So that's where I think there's an opportunity for Perkins. And if Perkins can take a step forward as a ball handler, because he's a combo, but like definitely leaning more of two. If he can become 20% more, like 20% better, become 20% more like a true point guard, a true one, I think that'll be super helpful for one, like his career, his future wallet, but then also just like for us in general, that's like a big swing for me with him. He can come and do like he's going to be the sixth man realistically. He can come and do basically what he did at Penn. Like he wasn't super efficient, but like it didn't really matter for what he was doing at Penn. I just want to see. For me, it's does he finish games? Is he the person who replaces Brickus if Brickus can't defend? Which is the question I'm going to have all year. Of like, what does that look like? And then if Brickus can't defend, can Perkins run the offense enough, or other people run the offense enough that it doesn't crater when Brickus is off the floor?
Yeah, that's where you hope some of Dixon's playmaking ability can kind of make up
Yeah,
for Brickus not being on the floor at all times. and then definitely some room for Perkins to grow and kind of show what he's developed so far. Um, yeah, not too much more to add. I guess next would be Dumont,
And
medical
so,
red. You go ahead.
and this is where I want to talk about this team. We have just hit everybody who's ever played college basketball.
Yeah.
Like besides O'Toole, which like,
Yeah.
yeah. But like we have hit everybody who's ever actually played college basketball. That's where the
We have
rest
6
of
more
this,
names to get
yeah,
to.
and there's
Yeah.
6 more names. So there's a lot of youth here, which could be good because it means there's a lot of potential. We don't know what they have, but there's also so many question marks. Dumont had a
Medical
hip
red
injury.
shirt. I don't
Yeah.
know if he's healthy right now
I
either.
heard he was potentially like not healthy at this moment, but like
Right.
should be ready for the season,
Okay.
which
We'll
Brian,
see.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll see.
So I don't know.
I have
Yeah,
no idea.
yeah. So with Dumont, I mean, he was able to shoot. We'll see. I for him, it's like I literally like I don't know what you. I got to see you on the floor.
Yeah. There wasn't like we didn't know too much about him going into last year either,
No.
and then obviously he wasn't the one making news. So again, we'll see as we go, I guess, with him.
Yep.
Another redshirt freshman, Chris Parker,
Chris
at
Parker.
Alabama last year, practiced with the team, redshirted, 6'9", listed as a guard, so
Yeah.
6'9" guard, 200 pounds. You probably know more about him than I do.
This is a interesting swing. If it works for Chris Parker, we can be pretty good. I don't even know how to describe because he's where Trey Patterson wasn't a guard, but was a kind of a
Right.
wing 6'9" forward. Chris Parker has way more guard skills. It's
I
very
said the Trey Patterson joke earlier. It was more so it's like a very similar body type.
yeah, completely.
Was the only thing. But I agree. I think this is more of a guard that got tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if he's able to and the good thing is it wasn't that he's a true freshman and he's never played. He was at Alabama, a Final Four team, couldn't get on the floor, but like was around people at Alabama, played next to Grant
Good
Nelson, played with
coach,
Mark
good
Sears,
system, good
played
development.
with Shaq, like all these people. So there's a lot of like
Played with Javon Quinterly,
did
right?
play with
Or
Javon
no,
Quinterly.
Quinterly didn't play there last year. Never mind.
Yeah, he didn't. He was
He was
at
at Memphis last year.
yeah.
Never mind.
But just was able to learn a lot from a good coach who plays a completely different style than us. Like
Yep.
whatever we do this season, I will eat a sock if we are remotely near Alabama.
Write it down.
Yeah, I will eat a sock if we're remotely near
There's
Alabama.
going to be a hurricane hitting Boston because Willie doesn't end up eating a sock. We all know what happened there. Yeah.
So I'm intrigued by Chris Parker just because of the physical tools that he has. He needs to be able to shoot, which is a question mark. He's athletic. He can. In theory has the body to defend, but can he shoot? And then if he can't shoot, can he actually be like a true? I don't even want to call him a point guard, but like ball handler. If he can do that, then we'll probably see him on the floor a decent amount.
He smiled in his team photo, so that tells me a lot about him too.
There we go.
Not everybody always smiles, and I'm like, you're here to play basketball with all your friends. Like, you might as well smile. Next, freshman Matt Hodge. We talked about him a little bit. 6'8", 220, coming from Belmar via Europe. His godfather Brian Lynch was a Villanova player in the 90s. So I can't. I'm from this area, and it's not a super competitive high school conference that he played in, and then his AAU I think kind of came on sort of on the later side. So I'm nervous a little bit about just like the level of competition for him, but by all, he's a shooter, he's an athlete. Worried about his foot speed a little bit, but other than that, tell me what you think.
Yeah, I mean, and this is going to be a theme with a lot of freshmen. A freshman won't play college basketball unless they are an uber athlete, can shoot or defend. For him, he's not an uber athlete. Defense is probably going to be meh at best. It's shooting. Can he shoot the ball even a 35% clip. If he can do that, he's going to find his way on the floor. Once again, I'm going to give a comparison that people aren't going to love, but like it's the shades of Cole Swider. I think there's more to the game than what we saw from Swider, but it's that same thing. Big forward can shoot. If he can't shoot and he can't defend, which we're still maybe he's going to be a better defender, but if he can't do either of those, we're going to have a tough time. It's going to take him a little bit more to develop. It just really depends on the shot for him, how quickly he's on the floor.
Definitely has more of an inside game than Swider
Definitely,
ever had.
yeah,
So
definitely more than inside game.
There's if you're not a lights out shooter, there's it's not the end all be all right away.
He's way stronger than Swider too.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up would be Malcolm Thomas. Again, a 6'8", 220 forward. DeMatha, high level basketball in high school, Justin Moore's high school. I don't know a ton about him. So
Malcolm Thomas is an interesting one for me. A really, really good athlete. Like, is going to shock us with how good of an athlete he is at his size. Has like more short area quickness than you would think. So he's able to like burst and get to the hoop really, really well. Even from the perimeter. I don't think he's a ball handler, but straight line drive can put the ball down and go do that. And then defensively just challenges shots at the rim.
Yeah, definitely more of like I'm not so worried about his defense coming in type of person. Son of an NBA player, like he gets it.
Ooh, my mouth is low on battery.
No, we're good.
This
is great. Episode 1. Yeah. So I think I'm most excited about his defense first potential, and then we'll see what happens on offense. Like I don't want to say it's an Enoch situation where it's like I'll take what I can get, but I'm glad that there are some players coming in that are labeled as a defense first kind of guy.
He's a guy that I think we had tagged. Like some people was like he's going to red shirt. I want to challenge that. I don't know that it's going to be the case. I think he's going to be able to earn some minutes.
I'm tired of the people being like, "Oh, well, he's going to like." Nobody knows anything. I don't put any stock into like everybody thought Sadiq Bey was going to redshirt too. Like, he probably has like the thing about the son of an NBA player, like a high level basketball. Like he's going to have a college basketball ready body, which will be a huge part of it too, as we know with Villanova. Like it's the guys that are in shape and in college basketball shape that kind of show themselves from the crowd a little bit early on, especially as young players. So I think that's something that he probably has in his favor right now.
Yeah.
Next, we have the Bulgarian white chocolate. I'm just going to call him Sash. I have no idea. I'm sorry. I will learn how to say the last name once they start announcing it and saying it, but I'm not going to try.
Yeah.
Put up big numbers for U18 Euros. And yeah, I'm excited to see, okay, we have a guard that's played high level basketball.
There are two people on the team. I'd say two freshmen that could sway things. Sasha's one. If what we saw at U18, and there are like the way I'll describe it is I believe Jonathan Gavoni tweeted about Sasha. Like that is a NBA person already tweeting about him. If it is real, there's positive stuff here to see. I just don't know because the only thing I've ever seen from him, like I'm not gonna. I know I spent a lot of time watching draft
YouTube
stuff.
Highlights.
Yeah, I know a lot of time watching draft stuff, and like I live that. Did not know who he was because I don't really care until they get to drafting age. And then that until he committed. And then I was like, okay, this is a guy I got to watch. There's a lot there. Deep shot, like can shoot from deep, really keeps the ball on a string, could be super creative. I think we'll learn pretty early if he's going to impact the season or not. He's either going to be playing by like the fourth game and it's like, okay, no, he's going to impact, or it's going to be like, all right, this is going to be a later thing.
Yeah, I mean, he was averaging 16 points, 5 boards, and 6 assists in those tournaments this summer. So like high level all around basketball player when he's in his element. So like it's hard to measure that level of competition versus high major college basketball. So at least for me, like I have no idea what the comparison is.
And I think sometimes we do. I mean, this is just my own personal opinion. Sometimes we're like, oh, they're playing in Europe. It doesn't, but like that's a completely different style of ball that usually, frankly, kind of works over here. Like It will. So like I'm imagining he'll be able to pick things up quickly. And he was super excited to be at Villanova. Also, I from a fit standpoint, I'm not really too worried about that. It's just, is it okay? He's actually going to impact the game, and I feel like we'll learn that pretty quickly. Is it going to be? It's going to be the first couple. As to compare to, I think the next person we're going to hit is Josiah Mosley, who I think will get better as the season goes on.
Yeah. Mosley 6'6", 230.
He might not be sick. I think he's sneaky bigger than that too.
He's just that. I'm just saying.
No, I'm saying what they have listed. Yeah.
Yeah, because guard forward. He also played the U18s this summer, or I guess it was the Americas. I'm trying to read what it was, but he averaged 24 and 8 for Belize, which obviously he was probably one of the better players on that team. But I am excited for him. We talked about him earlier. I think he has the chance to be one of the more impactful guys off the rip. And like you said, like the more you play early, the better chance you have of growing and playing late in the season. So
yeah, he's I'm pretty high on him. I've talked to some people and I have pretty high praise that I think can be really good for us. I think there's an NBA player somewhere in there, whether or not it's unlocked here is TBD, but like he's really good. Super smooth, a better shooter than you think, a better athlete. Like I think there's if he's able to handle the pace and the pace of play for the game, I think we're going to be good. I think he's going to be pretty good. He's a person I'm excited for. I think he's one that we should. If I'm talking about people I'm most excited to watch, starting Robert Morris, it's going to be him. It's going to be probably just honestly him, Sasha, and then like probably Tyler Perkins are the three I'm most excited to see. And just see how it looks like.
I lost my background.
Yeah, your background fell.
But yeah, big time scorer in high school. I'm just excited to see what he actually does when we start playing. To wrap things up, we'll get to our Wildcat of the Week. This is our, we kind of pick a year and pick a random player from that roster and talk about them a little bit, kind of like what they did, where are they now sort of thing. Tonight, I went with Malik Allen for no reason at all. Has nothing to do with where his son may or may not end up committing to, who is deciding 2 days from when this podcast will be out. But Villanova from 1996 to 2001 or 2000, whatever the maths on 2000. That. 2000. After that 10-year NBA career, coaching with the Heat since he retired from playing. His senior year at Nova, he led the team in points, blocks, and rebounds. Not many people do that. I think Dixon might have a chance to do that actually, but or maybe he did last year. But Brian, you were able to actually watch him play and had more of an understanding of what was actually happening versus Willie or me, because I was a child. I was born the year that he got to Nova. So tell me about Malik Allen.
Yeah, so Malik Allen was actually, so I told you today off the top of my head, I thought he was the class after Brian Lynch. He was the class with Brian Lynch. He was actually on my favorite Villanova team ever, which was Alvin Williams' senior year, Tim Thomas' freshman year. He was in the Tim Thomas recruiting class. And he didn't play much as a freshman. I think they finished first in the Big East. They were like 15 or 16 at the end of the year. Started the next 3 years. He was like the center, but this was going back to like Villanova never having big guys. Yeah. So he was a pretty undersized center for that era, but started 3 years, like Trevor said, as a senior. It was a pretty weak team looking at that roster, but he was a bright spot. What's interesting is his sophomore year, this surprised me when I looked at this, because I always thought John Celestan was the best player that kind of played with him. John was the year above him. When it was his junior year, there was 4 NBA guys on the team. Which
people forget. Yeah, it's weird, but I've when I look back, I'm like, wait, there's 4 NBA people on that team right there, which is interesting.
Yeah, so like Celestan had not as long of an NBA career as Malik, but was a good player, played for the Lakers for a while. I didn't know Malik had a son until this summer when I, started having the recruiting, which is cool. But I did know that he was a very well-respected NBA player and then went on to, I think he probably, does he still work in the front office?
I think he's
still
coaching. I thought that he was an exec, but he's been coaching. I think he had 1 year with the Timberwolves, and then the rest of his career has been with the Heat.
Okay.
And the Heat coaching.
I know he comes back in the summer, but we haven't heard much about him since he left. Obviously, it's playing career and then working career. But I know he's very well loved around the community. One of the 90s.
Did Kyle Lowry wear his jersey for the Raptors parade, or am I confusing him with somebody else? He never played for the Raptors.
Alvin Williams, he probably wore.
Williams, yeah.
Alvin Williams did play for the Raptors.
Yeah. No, I know Alvin Williams did. I meant I was confusing him with Malik.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Alvin Williams is my favorite player of all time.
Yeah.
Malik I had a interaction with Malik. He was in my sophomore year, he was with someone else was launching this recruiting website in Recruit, which I interned for. So I worked for Malik Allen for a little bit. And yeah, just was a great guy, was super helpful for me. I was a sophomore who didn't know what way was up. And he was as helpful as you'd expect a person who was also working in the NBA would be helpful. So I really always appreciated him for that.
Yeah, he coached the Heat Summer League teams 2021 and 22, according to Wikipedia. So there's a chance that he might have coached Cole Swider.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think
he seemed like a quiet player. Was he kind of a quieter guy, Willie?
No, he definitely was more of a.
Yeah. Because he's 6'10". He's a big dude.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think his son is a 4- or 5-star recruit.
I think he's a 4-star recruit. Yeah, decides on Wednesday, the 16th. Nice. And there's no reason at all why we're talking about his dad tonight.
It's pretty cool that the random Wildcat generator machine that we made picked Malik because we have no control.
It was almost like how last year it also hit Brian Lynch when we were talking about Matt Hodge and his brother.
Does the machine know?
I don't know. The machine knows. Ball.
That was an office quote. But
yeah.
Yeah. I like the office.
I don't have too much more to say.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for joining and listening to us. We're glad to be back. Season 8 premiere. We will be back in, I think, 2 weeks. We'll break down the schedule a bit more. I think we'll be coming right after the Robert Morris scrimmage, right. It might even be the same day. I can't remember when we decided.
We're going on October 30th.
Okay,
so Wednesday. So it's going to be a little bit off our regular schedule.
Yeah. But we'll talk about the Robert Morris. We'll talk about the schedule, and we'll start rolling into some things there. I'm going to be on a Big East Spaces. There's going to be Big East Spaces on the 28th with a bunch of other Big East podcasts. Podcasts. What's podcast die?
Podcast.
What's podcast? There we go. Put an S on the end. So I'll be joining with those. So that's that's probably the next time anybody can hear us. But beyond that, I think we're good. Stay with us, check with us. And as always, let's go Nova.